Thank you, Tom. Always makes me blush. Hi, everybody. I hope you're having a good day. I hope you're getting good information and at the same time enjoying yourselves with some good stories and good panelists. Sorry I get very nervous doing this stuff, so I'll apologize in advance. Today we have the honor of bringing a true family of jockeys, including, well, 2 siblings. We had 3, but Jackie Davis could not be here today because she's riding up at Finger Lakes and doing very, very well there. So we have 2 siblings and a spouse who's a son-in-law, brother-in-law. But let's bring out first the son of the retired jockey Robbie Davis, Dylan Davis, who came into his own during the winter of 2017-18 at Aqueduct. He tied the record for most wins in a single card at NYRA with 6. His lifetime earnings are at $56.5 million. He was also the leading rider at this past winter's meet at Aqueduct and lost by 1 winner, rode great, all Belmont meet. Let's bring out Dylan Davis. Our next rider is the daughter of Robbie Davis and sibling to both Jackie and Dylan. She took out her jockey's license in 2013, earned her first stakes win in 2017 aboard Next Best Thing, who won the Conover Stakes March 18th at Laurel Park. 2 years ago, she married our 4th panelist. Join me in welcoming Katie Davis. Katie. That's fine. And finally, the outlaw of the family. Actually, he's the in-law and husband of Katie Davis. He was born into racing and followed in his dad's footsteps as a winning jockey. I rode with his dad, Mike McCarthy, tremendous competitor, tremendous rider, and I see so much of Trevor, so much of Mike, in Trevor. He started riding horses at the age of 9 in the shed row since he was too young to go to the track. And once he began riding for Grand Motion, well, the rest, they say, is history. He actually got his first Grade 1 win at Belmont Park this past spring on a horse trained by Grand Motion. There weren't too many dry eyes in the house that day, I'll tell you that. He has lifetime earnings thus far of $64 million. Welcome to the stage, Trevor McCarthy. Trevor, why don't you sit next to your wife? I just I'll get it out of the way up front. Trevor, unfortunately, is going to have to leave us a little bit early. He has a Zoom meeting that he has to get to, so I'll just set that up right away. Thanks to all of you to be here, and thank you guys for joining in here. I'd like to just take a moment for the audience before we roll into questions to put all of us on the same page. You'll see what I mean. Just stick with me. I'm going to read a brief description, and I would like the audience members to close their eyes, and when I'm done talking, see if the photo that comes up on the screen matches what you see in your mind's eye. His torso is pitched forward at an unnatural angle, settled into a crouch. His legs are screaming, and his lower back strained. Open your eyes. You see what's on the screen there? All right, let's try this one. All right, we've got an NFL football player at the line of scrimmage. He's crouched, just as a jockey crouches over the back of a racehorse during a race, and not too dissimilar of a depiction there. You can see on your toes, crouched forward. The difference is the football player's stationary. These guys are moving along pretty good, about 35 to 40 miles an hour. Let's see. Let's try it again. Close your eyes. All of my weight is on my first 3 toes, only 4 inches of material to rest on. Everything else I can feel is balanced in midair. Okay, open your eyes. Did your mind's eye see this? An Olympic gymnast on a balance beam? Let's try it one more about jockeys in the stirrups. Again, look at how little of their foot is actually in the stirrup. Jockeys don't jam their foot all the way in the stirrup. They use their calves to grip the sides of the horse. A jockey doesn't ride like regular equitation. He doesn't use his legs as a seat. He has to ride this way to be aerodynamic, make it easier for the horse to carry the weight because it's balanced over his withers, and also to use your body weight as leverage because these horses are very, very strong. All right, let's try it one more time. Close your eyes. Strong hands are gripped tightly, ready to hold an unbearable weight. Forearms are stretched out and muscles taut, ready to take the pounding. Did you see this? A weightlifter. Or this, a jockey. I believe that's Frankie Dettori, stretched out on a pretty good one there. I never rode with my wedding ring. Do you guys ride with your wedding rings? No. And the reason for that is I almost got my finger pulled off in the starting gate one day. I had my wedding ring on, and the horse acted up, and I grabbed the petition. When he went up, my ring got caught. I thought I was going to leave my finger behind. But so, catching up here, guys. You probably figured out already by now that the men and women who ride the racehorses that you will eventually own are professional athletes. And in fact, pound for pound, jockeys are the strongest, quickest, most agile athletes in the world. Well, one more thing that pictures you just saw failed to mention. Jockeys do their job while going 35 miles an hour atop a 1,000-pound animal that can sometimes have a mind of its own. And jockeys don't have a season. You don't win the Derby and go, what are you going to do now? Oh, I'm going to Disney World. No. I'm flying back to New York to ride at Belmont, or I'm flying to California to ride at Santa Anita. There are no days off in this industry. Even when you're not riding as a jockey, you're worried about your weight, how you eat, how you sleep, how you think, how you approach life. Your discipline is constantly being tested. And that's why I have the utmost respect for you guys as young people doing it. It's incredible. All right, let's get started. We'll start with some questions for all of you, and we'll start with Jackie ladies first. You guys aren't going to like this question. Which of the four of you is the most skilled rider, and why?
Well, I can't say we're like, I don't know, like the best rider out of all of us.
Who do you think is the best?
I don't know. We all have good talents. Like
that would be me.
I'm better at one thing and he's better at another thing. But I can say one thing, that if one is better than the other, we actually attract to them and we're like, how'd you do that? Let me learn, so we can learn from each other. But I can say I'm a good front runner on the lead.
Okay.
Trevor's amazing from coming behind. And Dylan, you're both. I think you could do both. You're very good at, but we all are very good at both.
I understand there's a seat open on the Saratoga Town Council, so if you want to run for office, very, very politically correct.
No, they don't want me there. I could be a little headstrong, as my husband knows.
I mean, your sister was very kind. I have my own opinions. I'll give them after you guys are done.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I think I'm the best.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah.
Always want to beat him.
That's true.
All right, but let me ask you, if you had to pick out your greatest strength as a rider, what do you think it is?
I would prefer turf over dirt. Just love the way that the horses move over it, and very comfortable, quiet. A lot more tactical, a lot more thought into it. It's definitely a challenge. I would actually probably prefer a route turf.
And if there's one thing that you felt like you want to get better at, that you just feel like I can improve in that area, is there anything that comes to mind?
Yes, just really just getting the position that I want in every race, and then being able to hold it. It's just, I think that's the most key thing of a race, is just to get position, and then once that's done, then you just let your horse run the race.
All right. Trevor, now, I rode with both of your fathers. I rode with Robbie. I rode with your dad, Mike. And I would have said the same thing that Dylan just said. I was the best. But talk to me.
Everybody's going to say they're the best, right? So yeah, I'm the best one. But
your strengths. Give me some of your strengths.
If I had to say my strengths, I like riding like a sprint race on the turf. Mm-hmm. I like to have horses come out, get good positions, and I like horses to settle on the turf and just kind of be able to ease over and save ground and make a good run at the end. A lot of turf sprints, especially here at Saratoga, they go pretty quick early, so to always get a good break and to get horses running forward, leaving the gate, and getting them to turn off really well and just save some ground and making that good run is important.
I think a perfect example of that is your win over the weekend from Mark Cassidy. I think your name was Sinfully Sweet.
Yeah, and there's a filly who I learned a lot from riding her first time, where I kind of hustled her out of the gate and put her in a little position, being forward, and she just didn't fire that way. And last time I rode her, or not here at Saratoga, but I rode her at Belmont, and same kind of thing. I just let her get her feet under her and let her run out there, get her feet under her, save ground, and she got beat of a really nasty nose bob.
Tough head bob, yeah.
And so I think, those are my my big advantages, or what I think I'm the best at.
Well, I'm going to go a little off script here, and I hope you guys don't mind, but I do have the microphone. So you said something. You rode a filly first time, felt like you learned about her. Rode her second time, just got beat a tough one the third time. We'll start with you, Dylan. Do you feel having experience riding a horse is a huge edge?
Of course.
You just learning different idiosyncrasies and how to ride them better?
Yeah, well, the first time you ride a horse, you're just trying to go through the motion, just see what works with them. And then you're going to know a lot more about them for their next start, and hopefully the owner wants to ride you back. So that's a big advantage that you have. You can get a better placing or do a better job, better effort, because you'll know the horse's antics.
Jackie? Same, Katie, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I apologize. Jackie's supposed to be here.
I know.
You know how many concussions I've had?
I've had plenty too. Don't worry. I get it. That's fine. Yes, I think it's a huge advantage of riding a horse and getting a second opportunity to ride the horse, because there's some things that you can only learn so much in the morning about a horse. And when you get them in a pack full of other horses and they're maybe too keen behind another horse, or, you learn so much more. And like Dylan said, to get another opportunity, say you do mess up that first ride and you're like, man, I should have never done that. I didn't know she was that way or he was that way. And oh, please, just give me another opportunity, I promise. It's that second opportunity that you can change everything. Two, where if you were to put another jock on, they don't know, and they're over here like, hey, what happened in that race? Let me know about this horse.
But you don't want to tell them.
Yeah, you don't want to tell them
because you're in the same race.
Then they'll steal your opportunity, and you're hoping, oh, let him ride him. Just don't tell him anything, and you get the mount back, which has happened plenty of times with me.
Well,
which is great.
But that's a great lesson for potentially new owners in the game and owners that are already in the game, that if you stick with a rider, there's a continuity with a horse, it makes the horse better. Mm-hmm. Jumping around, trainer to trainer, jockey to jockey, surface to surface, horses excel with continuity, and a rider will never make the same mistake twice. They may make a mistake, won't make the same mistake twice. Now, you just said something that's a perfect segue into the next question, though.
Go ahead.
That you guys are family. You probably have dinners together, sit around a table together. Do you talk about your rides before and after a race, or something that might have happened in a race, especially races that you competed against each other? We'll start with Trevor with that one. Since you're the outlier.
I think one thing with me and Dylan is we don't talk horses at all. We're just so competitive, and here, we're competing at a tough circuit, and we don't talk horses, which is probably better off.
Yeah, family.
We're gonna need some security up here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dylan.
But and I just think it's just the respect thing for both of us, to where it's like, okay, well, we're both out there trying to win, and we're not going to give each other any edge, and we want to do what's best for our clients, build our clientele, and yeah, that's just the game. That's just the name of the game. And when it comes to my wife, definitely I give her some pointers. I probably give her too many pointers than she wants to hear. But
there's times where I don't want to go home and cook, and I'm like, I'm going out to dinner. I'll see you later.
But Katie, do you ever say to him, what were you doing in the fifth race today? Well,
absolutely.
Yes, and I do. I do. He doesn't like to hear it, but I know I can maybe throw a couple bucks because I'm not riding on the next race, knowing he's mad and he's gonna win the next race.
So it's good. It's good for her and I, to have that kind of connection, and she understands what I go through, and we kind of feed off each other, which is great. And, look, we didn't really get to ride in New York very long with each other, but, Maryland we did, and she would ride horses that I rode, and I would just give her pointers on horses. And there's a great story one day. I rode a horse, and I had the 2 calls in the race, and they were both tough calls. And I was riding for a guy, Jamie Ness at the time. I rode a lot of horses for him, so I had to take Jamie's horse over another horse, and they were very similar. So I'm looking at the race the night before, and I said to my wife, "Listen, you can beat me. Whatever you do, don't screw this up." And
No pressure.
right? And she's going, "Oh, okay, and you think so?" I'm saying, "Oh, man, I can't believe I had to ride Jamie's. Now the more I'm studying, I really want to ride this horse. This race is going to set up perfect for this other horse that she's on." And come the next morning, it's during COVID, so we didn't have to go out and work horses. And I'm looking at the races before heading over to the track, and said to her again, "Honey, if you screw this up today, please just don't screw it up
job
today."
to me.
Right? This horse can absolutely win. And okay. So now I'm going and I'm studying in the jock room again. Going, man, she can't win. So now I go back and we're warming up out, and I warm my horse up away from the pony, and my horse warms up great. And there's Katie, and I said, "Katie, that horse likes to be cut away from the pony. He always needs to go away from the pony." Okay. So she takes him away from the pony. She comes back, and I said, "Kate, don't go back to the pony yet. Keep going. He's not tiptoeing. He's not ready."
He's riding, he's training, he's coaching.
Right?
Coaching.
So I said, "Keep going. Keep warming him up. He's not ready yet. Okay. So she keeps going. She brings him back. Now he's tiptoeing. He's ready to go. So okay. Well, now she's going to be coming from behind, and this is great. So I break route running, and I'm sitting second, got a beautiful position in a nice stalking spot. And now here comes a jockey, makes an early move coming into the turn. And I said, "Oh, man, now she's in the back of my mind. Oh, she's behind us. Now we're setting up the race for her a little bit." I'm like, "Oh, no." So we're breaking, and now turn for home. I'm trying to gain on the leader. I put the other horse away that made the early move. Now the last 16th, maybe the last 70 yards, I finally past the leader, and great, I'm gonna win the race. And all of a sudden I hear this little screech on the outside.
No.
And it was a girl.
No, he's lying.
And all of a sudden
He's lying. I don't do that.
It was gonna be my 4th win of the day. It was my 3rd win of the day, and here was gonna be my 4th.
Yeah, exactly.
And here she comes. Last jump. I mean, the dirtiest nose.
There was 4 or 5 of us coming.
Whoa, nails me. Right, nails me. And the kid
he goes, "I got it." I go, "No, honey, I got it."
And
"No, you didn't." "I got it. I'm telling you, I got it." We come back, he was so
I was mad. I didn't talk to her for the whole night.
Yes, the whole night.
Wait a second,
I
you're
was
the
on
one who
couch.
volunteered all this information.
Exactly. Don't tell me how
And
to
I said,
ride.
and the best was the kid that made the early move on me going into the turn was the first one to say, "Oh, Poppy, she got you." I said, "Yeah, well, yeah, she did because you made the early move."
Well, it is great to have a spouse that's completely honest with you. I did my first TV thing ever about 4 months after I retired from riding, the Breeders' Cup Preview Day at Belmont, and I was terrible. And I went home, and I walked in the house, and the first thing out of my wife's mouth was, "Well, that didn't go so well. They won't be calling back." So, thankfully, I got a second chance, right?
There you go. Yeah.
Well, this kind of leads into that too, guys. So, you're talking about races. Has there ever been circumstances where maybe something happened within the context of a race where you're mad at each other? I mean, you guys rode a lot in Maryland together, Katie
Yes.
and Trevor, but on a daily basis, I'm sure you guys had to get into a spot somewhere, Trevor and Dylan, that you weren't too happy with each other.
Me and Dylan got into it.
You and Dylan. Oh, I'm trying to get the brother-in-law.
Rival, yeah. Remember when at Aqueduct when I slammed you out in the turn? You were I won the race, and he takes me down. I'm like, wait a minute.
Did you claim foul on your sister?
She was coming out of a box, and I was trying to keep her back down in there, and she pushed me out in 2 jumps. claim foul on her.
Where'd you finish?
I won the race. Well, I finished second.
Oh, you all
I
right,
won
as
the
long as you
race, she
finished
won.
second. If you finished fifth and claimed
Had to
foul,
claim
me and you
foul.
had a problem right now.
Oh my goodness.
So,
Took her down.
like in hindsight, though, do you feel like you deserve to come down?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just said enough. Get out of my way, little
Yeah,
brother.
I'm like, come on, go, go, go.
She got an earful from me that night.
And my dad. And yeah, pretty much everyone.
All right. Well, I mean, you made a mistake. I'd rather my jockeys make an aggressive mistake than a passive mistake.
Yeah, that was a very aggressive mistake.
Yeah. She's pleased with herself about how aggressive she was. All right. What about Trevor and Dylan? You guys ever have little words or a little friction?
No?
I don't think too much. Do you know one?
He's got something on his
He's
mind.
got-
I see
he's
it.
I was just gonna say.
You might
He's
be
like, I
hearing
don't
something
want to
for the
bring it
first
up,
time.
but here we go.
It was the other day, man, on the turf course. I didn't even talk to you about it.
Wait, that wasn't my fault.
You needed to get out of the way for sure. He said, double D, double D. I said, I couldn't do it to you. I would have put you over heels.
I said, oh man, well it was here, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
So he's coming down, and we're
Full
kind
head
of
of
competing
horse.
there. I got two horses on the outside, and Kendrick was on the lead, and now Kendrick's kind of dying off, and I'm in the two path. Kendrick's on the rail, and I got about 2 or 3 next to me, and we're all kind of riding for fourth, fifth, and here Dylan kind of comes through, and Dylan's got some horse to come through, and it's one of those things where now Kendrick was coming back so quick, and I was gaining at the same time, and then I had 2 or 3 outside me, and it was one of those things like, man, Dylan, this is gonna be ugly, and I went, oh no, Dylan, don't do it, and he didn't, he had to,
Yeah, no, I had to
It was
Yeah,
dramatic.
down the
If
stretch,
you had
yeah.
come out, I think
I would've hurt- yeah, it would've been
could have
dangerous,
bad.
yeah.
Could have been,
Yeah.
it could have been dangerous, and that's the thing people have to understand. There's a big difference between being aggressive and being reckless.
Yes.
There's a couple of riders that I would deem reckless, mostly not here, more, I think Monmouth Park comes to mind right away. And I'll never understand why people think that there's they'll revere somebody that's reckless when that's just not good race riding. And that's how horses get hurt, let alone people getting hurt. I mean, that kind of, do you guys look out for each other a little bit more? I know how competitive it is, but I mean, it's got to be an interesting dynamic when you ride together. Like if you saw Katie in a spot, horse maybe running off or something, I mean, how do you handle that?
Yeah, it was tough. One day, I felt really bad for Dylan. He had a bridle break at Belmont on the turf, and the rain break,
The inside?
and I was on the inside of him, and here he is on the outside, and he's got, zero control, and he's actually hanging on to the bridle itself where the bit is attached because the rein is now gone. And here I was, we were both last. I didn't have any horse, and my horse was getting out, and I was trying to control mine, and I just wasn't quite quick enough to get out to Dylan. And there's a situation where I kind of wish I was able to help him out more than I could. But I'm just kind of staying with him, and I'm just kind of talking him through it. I felt terrible. Here I am. I'm just watching him, and I'm like, what
That's
more am I
scary.
going to do?
Yeah.
I'm just going to give him some confidence and tell him to hang in there. You got her,
Definitely scary feeling.
It was a scary moment for him, but kind of a scary moment for me as well, watching, my brother-in-law and being in a bad
Sure.
situation. So,
But I think that's a camaraderie that all riders share. Just so people know, so years ago, Mike Smith broke his inside rein in the Miss Grillo, and he was able to kind of get back out of the field, but the filly was running out with him, and that's your brakes and your steering, so he has no control to keep her straight. My horse had made her run and tired. I was out of the race too. I maneuvered my horse to the outside of him,
Yeah.
and about the 70-yard marker, I had an opportunity. I reached over and got a hold of his horse and pulled both horses up. Then I was called in by the stewards because I actually grabbed him about 70 yards before the wire, but we were like 20 lengths out of it, and they were talking about fining me, and I said, are you kidding me? I'm trying to make sure his filly doesn't run out to where the ropes are. They pull out over there.
Right.
And they warned me, so I didn't get a fine, but I thought I should have got a medal.
Purple Heart.
Guys, this is the toughest meet in North America. Hands down, Saratoga, there's no tougher venue to ride. It's the deepest jockey colony. What's it like being a jockey here, and what makes it so unique? And you've ridden here, Katie, so
yes,
you
I've
can
shipped
start.
in. It's nothing like, so we've been to Del Mar, Trevor rode Del Mar, and people compare Del Mar to Saratoga. It's nothing like Saratoga. Saratoga is just a nice family atmosphere. You know, it's up and coming every other year, and just to get out on the track and see all the fans and the people, which we need to keep it up and coming. And it's just like, I guess you could say it's like going to a football game and everybody's like screaming and
Playing
like,
into a packed house.
yeah, like a packed house. It's nothing. It's amazing. Your heart's just pounding, and you're like, well, this is just, you know, a cheap. I don't want to say cheap little race, but like that I rode. But it's like, it's just a huge adrenaline rush.
Trevor.
You know, this is my first year of riding Saratoga for the meet, and to me, it's just such a special place. There's just so much history here. I mean, you go back, and it's great being on the backside and just seeing all the horses of what horses were stabled here at this barn. And, you know, this was trainer, you know, you work for Steve DeMauro or Jimmy Fitzsimmons. And, you know, for them guys, it's like, man, just the history itself. And I won my first race here the other day, and it was a bottom claiming race. And, you know, to me, when I crossed the wire, it was like I won a grade 1. You know, it was like, it was just so special. And it was just the history coming back, just jogging back, just catching that moment. It was like, wow, I won a race at Saratoga. Here's Saratoga, where Angel Cordero was a leading rider here for so many years, and so many great riders came through here. And, you know, you just go back and you just think about the guys that have come through here. And, you know, it's special. And even I was here a few weeks before the meet opened, and I was driving around the golf cart, and it was pretty empty, you know, but I'm driving through, and I'm just like in awe. And I'm like, you know what, this is the toughest place in America. I'm here at the Super Bowl. And, you know, if I don't have the best meet of my life, you know, here, then I can say, hey, I made it here, you know, and I'm happy to be here. And there's a lot of people that want to be in my position and that want to be here, and I'm super lucky.
Well, there's 13 licensed, what I would say, active jockeys in North America, including Canada. And you've probably got 20, 24 riders here, and everybody wants to be here. So think about that. I think Trevor had a run.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's coming up.
Okay. Dylan, for you, what makes this place so special?
You know, first off, it's my hometown. I grew up here.
You grew up
and
here,
It's special. So, but I noticed. I thought about it about a week last week that every year I come up here, it feels even more special than the last year. It's just, I feel like everybody that comes here, they're just planning for the summer, and they want to run their best horses. And we got the best jocks here, so everyone's trying to compete and do the best that they can. I'm just very fortunate that, you know, I'm able to compete with these guys and do well. So just the prestigious of the races, and everyone's watching, so he's just always trying to do their best.
Come up here in the winter. I do my Christmas shopping here every year, and I come walk around here, and I feel the ghosts of racing past.
Yes.
This is hallowed ground. This is where everybody wants to make it. And like Trevor said, all of the great horses, horsemen, riders that have competed here over the years, it's nice to be able to write a small, you know, chapter or paragraph even of your own in the rich history of Saratoga. When you move from Belmont, let's say, to Saratoga, Dylan, how much of an adjustment? 1.5-mile track, wider sweeping turns, Saratoga tighter. Robbie Davis, everybody, one of the best riders I've ever competed with.
Thank you, Richie.
How much of an adjustment is it? And I'm sure after competing here for several years, you're kind of a little more clued into what to expect.
Sure, yeah. So first off, everyone wants to get that first winner off their belt and want to get that first one out of the way. So really, everyone comes in here being very aggressive, and that might be the opposite. You know, maybe you want to sit back and you can make that run, but just being aggressive, being able to hold your position, and it can cost you can just go a little wider and cost you ground if that's the case for the shorter turns, and then it's not as much of a big deal as Belmont to be able to be more patient.
I want to get your dad in the conversation here. Rob, all the years you came up here and had tremendous success, is there a race that you, or two even, that you would pick out that were like Saratoga highlight for you?
Oh, goodness. That's a good question, Rich.
Bring the mic a little closer.
Okay.
Thank you.
There's so many good races on the inner turf, and the outer turf, and the main track, and the grade ones, and and just riding in the Travers, and it's like I get emotional when I hit the 3/8 pole, and you have a flashback of like kicking in a forego, and making a run and winning on a 30-1 shot with 1984 Mug of Tea. And A Phenomenal was in the race, and he went down right in front of me with Angel Cordero. He's a favorite, and my horse jumped him, and because I went out to avoid him, and I jumped him, and then I froze. Like I didn't know what to do. I just kind of went in like a deer in the headlights, and I was like, oh, I still got a shot here. And I went to riding, and I won the race. And that was just, so there's just so many memories, and there's so many great memories that it's just, it's hard to pick one,
So just like we talked about jockeys' relationships, and me and Robbie at times didn't get on very well when we rode. We would butt heads, and more times butting heads than not. But it's funny how life is, and I consider him a very dear friend now, and we have such mutual respect for each other. But my brother Michael is Dylan's agent. My son Joseph is Trevor's agent. And so we're practically family now at this point, but we did not get on.
This should be a family reunion almost.
This is great. Guys, how much, we'll start with you, Katie. How much chatter goes on in a race? How much do you guys talk to each other or communicate, and sometimes yelling in a race?
So there is a lot of talking sometimes with certain people. For instance, my sister Jackie loves to talk in a race, personally.
But she loves to talk.
She does. She's just a big talker. She'll go on and on and on. Even just breezing, I'm looking at her like, just leave me alone. I'm trying to focus, But you get some guys like, for instance, down in Maryland, we'd be in the gate, and they're like, oh, I'll beat you out of the gate, and we'll all be laughing, and we're all screaming out of the gate, and enjoying it, but still doing our job, But then it comes down to, like, if you got a guy that's running off and they're screaming, we kind of scream at the other guy where they have no control. You don't want to see anybody go down. If you can prevent it, we try to prevent it. Because at the end of the day, we all want to go home to our families, and our lives are on the line every day, and nobody wants to see anybody get hurt, literally. So.
And you learn pretty early on the guys that are riders that are going to cry wolf,
yes,
and
that
the guys
too.
that aren't going to help you if you need a hand, and you repay that
pick and choose who you want to help too, but.
Rob, you're like the one person that is like so uniquely qualified to talk about this. So get your perspective on the relationship triangle. You were a jockey. You're now a trainer and an owner. How much contact jockeys actually have with the owners? Do you find yourself communicating primarily with the trainer as a rider? But you, having worn all three hats, what is that love triangle like?
Well, it's, I'll tell you what, when you're a jockey, and you don't like the horse, you just tell your agent, hey, look, let's try to get something else. But when you own the horse and you train the horse, he's still at your barn. He's still in the stall. You still got to take care of him. You're responsible for him. So you got to kind of figure out a way or a niche that it's going to fit him. It might be the slop, it might be the turf, it might be longer, shorter, or it might be cheaper company at Finger Lakes, whatever it is. But you're kind of married to the horse. Where a jockey, you get off, okay, feed him goods,
Right. You
can go to the next one.
Yeah.
But and I dove in head first with a horse named Sandy and the Sun, and we bought him for $700. And Dylan had just graduated high school, and I could put a lot of time into training him and getting him ready to run, and it was a challenge. So one of my older sons, Dylan's older brother, Eddie, says, "Dad, what are you doing? This horse is from the backyard. You're not going to win a race in New York with this horse." I said, "Well, Eddie, why don't you come and help me?" And he says, "Oh, I got a good job, Dad. I'm the kitchen manager at Chipotle's." And I said, well, that's all fine. I said, it's only an hour. I only have one horse, and come and help me, and I'll teach you how to ride a little bit. And because I'd never pushed the racetrack onto the family or the kids at all, and so I wanted them to get an education and succeed me, what I didn't do. And the horse, needless to say, I legged my daughter up on the horse, and now my heart just starts pounding. I'm like, oh, what am I doing? And I begged her not to be a jockey. It was Jacqueline. And I told her, I said, this is his fifth start. And I told her, I said, "Jackie, this horse wants to run 1.5 miles. So when you get over on the backside, get him in the clear and just go." She's like, "What, Dad? Nobody does that." I says, "I know it sounds really ridiculous, but they're all sitting there going real slow. He wants to get into the pace and then go wide around the turn. Just keep him going, because it's 1 1/16 race." And she got up and won the thing by a nose and paid $89 to win. And that was the best winner I ever had. I mean, as a father and as a trainer and as a jockey that I can remember, because it was so emotional to see her. And it was a 4-way photo, and he had his nose down right on the wire, and Richie was there. And
I came down from my office. I was deliriously happy for you guys. Yeah.
But and I learned one thing, that when you leg your son up on the horse, it's like, all right, let's go kick some butt. When you leg your daughter up on the horse, it's like, oh, be careful, sweetheart. So,
Well, you know what?
Don't worry, Dad, I got it.
Well, listen, we all know that it's a dangerous profession. And Robbie, you had injuries, I had injuries. How, as a parent, do you deal with watching them ride? Like, what's the range of emotion watching your children compete?
My goodness, I'll tell you, it never gets old. Now we have Trevor in the family, which is such a fine young man. He's a gentleman, and he's a good horseman and a good rider. And him and Dylan, they didn't hit it off so great, out on the track. They were really competitive, and it was a lot like Richie and I. We knew each other's tricks. And we laid it on each other every day, and it was competitive. And we're at the peak of horse racing right here, so it's really, really hard to find you just, like, you say your prayers every day, and the race goes off. And for instance, Jackie, when she started, she's 4'10". She's little. I said, "Jackie, be a kindergarten teacher. You're so little. The little kids love you." "No, Dad, I'm gonna do this whether you like it or not. I'm 18. I'm like, oh God. So she's riding a race, and she's doing just the opposite of what you want to do going into the turn. She's running up on the inside, and I'm going, oh my God, Jackie, what are you doing? So I ran in the bathroom. I didn't know what I was going to throw up or something else. And I'm just in there kind of like just pulling my hair out, and I come out of the bathroom. She's in front. She won the race. And I'm like, oh, I got to watch the replay.
I think I'd only watch replays.
I just couldn't stand to watch it. But they've gotten better now, and so it's not quite as hard because
We learn along the way.
it's they learn as they go, and but it was hard at first.
You know, I was going to specifically talk to you about this. You had an injury last year, broke your collarbone, needed surgery. And riders can go one of two ways with a bad injury, you know, particularly having to have surgery. They can either go, okay, you know, I missed it, I want to get back, I want to be better, or they just physically can't take the shock of it. And I feel like you passed that test with flying colors. Like you have come back and ridden, to me, more focused, with more of a purpose, more consistency. Talk to me about what it's like to have an injury, and a tough injury, and be able to come back from it with that kind of resolve and be able to put it behind you, not have it affect you.
Sure, Rich. So I broke my collarbone in 2 spots last year, and I was on the sideline for about 2 months. And in that time, I only watched racing for about 2 days. So I saw my horses were winning, and I got upset. You know, and even riders, they were riding my horses incorrectly, just knowing the antics of them and everything. And I turned racing off, and I went for about a week doing that, really upset and negative. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to turn this negative into positive energy and come back with better energy and just really pushing myself. So I kind of got comfortable before that injury, and I was happy with where I was at. But when I came back, it kind of revitalized my mind and wanted me to push myself better and farther and show them that, you know, I can do this. And when I came back, I was hungry and very aggressive and riding smarter and just showing the hunger to everybody again.
Well, the consistency of your game, I think, has been one of the key components to your success. You don't take a race off. Forget a day off. You don't take a race off. You're putting horses in position, and you're riding them all hard. And I'm proud of you. I know your family's proud of you. It's been fun for me to watch. Katie, I'm sure, you know, riding horses, everybody has injuries. Was there ever an injury that made you take pause and go, not really sure if I want to do that again? I know I had a couple of moments.
I can't say I've had that moment before. I know Trevor has, for me. He's like, okay, Kate, you're not riding no more. You're done. It is. And I'm like, listen, you want a relationship? Shh. Like, stay quiet. Like, I'm going to do what I want. I'm not hurting anybody. But I did have a really bad injury in Parks. I went to ride, and I was going around the turn, and I was just skimming the guy. I was going to win by flying colors. Like, it was just a perfect ride. And I came out, and this horse just took a step out, and I clipped his back heel, and I went face first. I remember it clear as day.
That's
know.
a good thing.
Yeah, no, but the aftermath was not okay.
Oh, well, but the fact that you could remember.
Yeah.
There were several I know we didn't remember.
Yeah, so knock on wood, actually. Where is it? I've never broken a bone yet in racing. I know. You got to understand it's there.
Yeah.
So you move forward and you know it's there. But I've had a couple good concussions. So that last spill, I had a really bad concussion. I remembered, like, in my own bed crying because I didn't know where I was, like, the next day. And I ended up with vertigo. And funny story is the trainer that I rode with was complaining how he had vertigo. And I kind of laughed because I didn't know what it was. I was like, what? Vertigo? What's that? And I ended up going down on his horse, catching vertigo right after I go down. And yeah, it was kind of karma, I guess, for laughing, being mean. But, you know, it's dangerous. It's very dangerous out there. And I can't say that I want to retire yet. I just had a 7-month-old baby. Her name's Riley, and I'm still chomping at the bit. Like,
Well,
I'm
you're
riding.
getting on horses in the morning.
I am, but it's not the same. You know, it's night and day. Like, you can gallop in the morning and breeze, but just that thrill being behind horses, knowing my brother's in front of me so I can push him out of the way and nail him on the wire, or beat my husband on the wire and he still pays for dinner, or, you know. It's just the thrill of it. And like Richie said, when you go down, you either know you want to do it or you just lose your heart. You know, it's just...
I've got I don't know if it's a funny story, maybe it's a little dark. I was an apprentice up here. I was 16 years old. I was in a battle with Cordero for leading rider going to the last Saturday. We were tied 20 wins apiece when it was a 24-day meet. And I went down at the top of the stretch, and I woke up when I was in the hospital like an hour or so later. Mm-hmm. And I've come to, and I'm not really sure who I am, where I am. You know, like that I was even a jockey, you know, and there was a priest standing over me, and I went, well, this ain't good because I must be getting my... And it turns out it was a priest that actually I was very friendly with up here, who eventually married my wife, and I christened all my kids. But I thought, I went, oh, this is bad. This is not good. Katie, what would a young kid coming along, wants to be a rider, could be a young boy, a young girl, what kind of advice, what would you say to a young Katie starting out?
If you put your mind to anything, you can succeed in your own ways. The game is tough, and I feel like a lot of people don't understand the backside of it, where it's like it's more mental than anything, you know, especially when you can be going on a high. I was talking to one young guy the other morning. He's like, really mental? Why is it mental? You know, because you could be winning on top, you'd be leading rider, and then a couple weeks later, you can't win a race, you know, and that high's not there anymore. And but it's all about staying positive, enjoying it, because most people forget to enjoy, you know, and know that, you know, there's always another horse out there if you get taken off, you know what I mean? That you can't dwell over, okay, the owner, he's gonna take you off regardless. If you can't go out and beg, you just hope that the rider messes up so where you can go back and say, hey, did you see that? And he's like, yeah, don't remind me, you know, or whatever, you know, it's...
Well, for people that don't understand,
yeah.
Think of riders like actors. I'm sure Tom Cruise has a commercial someplace he's not proud of, but when you start out, you'll ride any horse for anybody, and
yes.
You're basically going out in the morning to work horses. Those are your auditions. Think of the trainers as the directors, the owners as the producers, and you want the part on the Academy Award-winning, you know, movie, mm-hmm. And that's the stakes-winning horses, and that's what we're all striving for. So just what you're saying, you're constantly selling yourself.
Yes.
Rob, a guy that was very instrumental to both you and I, like a mentor to both of us, Eddie Maple.
Oh, yeah.
You know, something he said to me, because I could be very mercurial. Nah, not me, right? I was always calm. He said to me, you got to stay even. If you win 5, be the same as if you got beat on 5 favorites. And it just made sense to me. It clarified it. What would you say to a young Dylan Davis starting out?
Keep working hard. Keep showing up. Do your best. Stay positive, build relationships, and you'll get there. You just keep working.
And Rob, did you give your children any advice when they started out, other than the first resistance for them not to be riders? Was there anything specific that you talked to them about?
Just to be a good person, a good rider, and respect the horse, mm-hmm. And respect the trainer and the owner, and tell them the truth. Don't be afraid to tell them the truth, and teach the horse something.
If I
you know,
mess up, I'm sorry.
Yeah, if you're galloping out, you know, you can teach a baby galloping out. How many times we put a little more dirt in their face, or gallop out through a little hole around the turn, and show them a little something. Pull them up and pet them. Give them some confidence that they did a good job. You know,
be a horseman.
Be a horseman. Yeah, the horse come first because they're the ones that we come to see.
I think that's a great spot. I'm looking at the clock here to end it. It's all about the horse. It begins and ends with the horse. None of us would be here in this moment if it wasn't for the horses. We wouldn't gather in the foothills of the Adirondacks every summer in summer camp for adults if it wasn't for horses. So It's all about the horses. How about we see if anybody got any questions? Start right there.
What you're saying is about the horse, but man, the information you all provide, being the riders of the horse, is awesome. I mean, as an owner, we talk to the trainer and we get to pet the horse and we see, but the horses can't talk, right?
Yes.
You guys are, and so it was so interesting hearing you. I race in Maryland, so.
Okay.
And you don't get the crowds, maybe Maryland Million Day.
Yeah, not
like
much.
out here.
Yes.
So when it's like, when Trevor was saying, it's like the crowd and all this stuff. So we were talking earlier in some of the sessions about how to get the fans there.
Of course.
And so how do you, a two-part question, number one, how do you guys do it when the crowd, when there's no crowd, right? You're just competing against each other and you don't necessarily have those people watching the races on a Thursday or Friday. What would your recommendation be on how to get the fans there? And gosh, talking to you guys, you got people at the track to talk to you guys, and you have real life examples. Can we eat that up?
Yeah, I've ridden at a couple tracks in the Mid-Atlantic, Delaware, and a couple other places, and I'm always like throwing ideas out there to the racing office, and they're like, "Yeah, Katie, we'll get to it," and I'm like, "No, you don't understand. Like, this is our generation. Like, we need people, younger crowds coming in, and you know, for instance, $2 beers for college night or college day, or you know, especially here, it's pretty big and open where you guys have the tables and stuff for big crowds. Another thing, like, because I work in the morning and all the kids are out there, I stop. Go ahead and pet him. He's fine. He won't bite him. And their eyes just lit up. And I think it's more about promotion, especially with social media. We have Facebook, we have Instagram, and you see the generation. That's all they're doing, scrolling, scrolling, scrolling. So if there's something there that pops up in a group of friends, you know, a lot of my friends, because we're from Saratoga, we're going to the races, you know, and it's possible to keep it going.
Yeah, I think getting young people close to horses is super important. A lot of
Yes.
children don't have that opportunity. I think, you know, we have so much wagering that goes on, you know, ADWs, online, where people are doing it from home or other venues, not coming to the racetrack. But what happens when those people move on to something else or pass away or lose interest? You're not going to get someone to wake up one morning that hasn't experienced a day at the races to go online and say, hey, I'm going to bet on horses today online. It's just not going to happen. So I think getting people to the event, getting people close to the horses, that proximity, and it's, you know, it's a customer-driven business. We have to make sure that people have a good experience.
Yes.
They have to come away feeling like, I want to do that again. And the thing I tell people all the time, you can go to a ball game, have a great time. You're going to spend with, you know, a family of $400, $500, $600. You're not leaving with any of that money. You're leaving it behind. You're coming away with a memory. At the races, you may actually leave with more than you came with.
Yeah, I just think like on the weekends, once a week, have a theme, like family day, or I know you guys do like the T-shirts giveaway and all that, but somehow incorporate like a bouncy house back in the corners, or like
My idea
Belmont
is to have
does
pony
it.
rides.
Yeah, pony rides.
Have pony ride, make
you
it a
know.
little track, like an eighth of a mile around, have every pony have a numbered saddle towel.
Yeah.
Have the arm numbers out there, and now we have a discard pile of
Goggles,
silks in the
you
room.
know.
Put out silks. Every kid gets to pick out what silks he wants, right? Now all of a sudden he's Robbie Davis or Ramon Dominguez or Johnny Vasquez or Dylan or Katie. And in their
Yeah.
mind's eye, they can relate to what we do. We've all grown up playing Little League baseball or football or some form of the sport, maybe never at that level, but now we can relate to that baseball player up at bat. That's what we need to strive for, to bring people more into our world. It shouldn't be shrouded in mystery. We have to have complete transparency.
Yeah.
Because you ride several horses a day, perhaps, and dozens during a meet, different horses, how do you recall or remember your horse on a reride when you get asked? What do you do for researching the horse again? To remember the horse from the previous ride?
Let's start with Dylan with that one.
Yeah, so we can really based off memory, and also we have access to race replays. And once you watch a replay of a horse that you've ridden, it comes back to you exactly what you needed to do in that race, and just making sure that we can do that again or do better.
Rob, can you still pretty much remember about every horse you ever rode? I know I can. I can't remember birthdays, anniversaries,
Yeah.
but horses I can
Yeah.
remember.
Well, at times you don't want to remember, and and then you'll get gently reminded when you go get butted in the forehead, over on the turn, and when you're warming up, like, oh yeah, I remember this. You got
Yeah,
a very
that's
light
true.
mouth or a very sensitive mouth, and so you remember right away which one it is. But a lot of times, they all have their mannerisms, and when you learn how to ride and with your bridle, and it's very sensitive, they can feel a fly on their back. So if you just tickle the bridle and imagine a fork in your mouth just moving just a little bit, you can do that and the horse will respond. And I got to a point where I'm riding on the turn and I see this hole is going to open up on the turn, and I would take my hand and I'd go like this, I'd just jiggle, and the horse would see it, and naturally the horse would go right through the hole and get through and win. And I wouldn't have to grab them and overdo it, which you can slow them down. But they all have a personality, and I made it a point that every horse, before I got on them, I pet them on the face, and I said, all right, big boy, let's go. We're going to win this. We'd be 30-1, 20-1. And I would coach them and encourage them, and I'd pet them, and I'd get them by themselves. Before you know it, they were bouncing on their toes, and they're all swelled up, and I'm like, oh, this horse is going to do something.
Yeah.
And here they come. They come running. So you give them a positive thought and
Connection.
a positive energy. They respond really, really well to it. It's kind of like a kid, that's just trying to make it, and you just keep pumping him up and telling him he's good and telling him he's good, and pretty soon he throws a no-hitter, And
But directly to your point, we have so much technology now. There's a replay center in the jockey's room, so you can go review not only your horse's race, but your competition's races, where you'll see, let's say there's an 8-horse field, and reading the racing form, another tool, formulator. I go as deep now doing shows, pedigree query. You do a 3-hour television show, you're doing at least 3 hours of prep. But you'll see in the form that 3 horses have speed, and you're one of the speed horses. But now you go watch the replay, and your horse has what I call gate speed. His first 2 steps are very quick, but those other 2 horses take 3 or 4 strides to get their feet underneath them. Well, I've already made up my mind. I'm going to take it away from them right out of the gate because I've done my work. I know that that horse doesn't have true gate speed. There's so many tools available to us. When Robbie and I started, you'd have to go to the stewards, ask for permission to see a replay. They'd have to queue it up. Now you just boop, 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 go on your computer. I mean, it's a technology age, and if you're not taking advantage of that technology, someone else is, and they've got an edge, and it's too competitive to not take advantage of all that's available to you. Anybody else?
This is just sort of a little bit of a historic comment here. Robbie rode our first Grade 1 winner in 1988. Filly by the name of Aptos Star in the Acorn.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And Dylan actually rode our very most recent Grade 1 winner, Preservationist. So
Very
we know
nice.
the family pretty
That's
well.
very cool.
But,
Centennial Farms.
my question to all of you is, I played professional polo for quite some time, and the stress and, everybody's looking at you through through a microscope. How do you recharge your batteries physically, but most importantly, mentally? Do you deal with sports psychologists? I know I did. Do you have time? How do you deal with that pressure?
Well, I'm going to start, and then I'd like to go to Trevor, if you don't mind, from there, and we'll go down the line.
Sure.
One day at Aqueduct, I rode 4 winners. I got beat a nose in the last race on a 10-claimer and did not give the horse a good ride. And in my mind's eye, and I had won the Better Roses that day, I had a great day. Driving home from Aqueduct, I felt like I was exposed. You see, I'm not a good rider, and everybody saw it because I got beat a nose on that last one. And I should have won. I did not give the horse a good ride. Got home, my wife was like, oh, great day, you won 4. Did you see the last race? It was a terrible day. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. 3 o'clock that morning, I'm downstairs in my den watching race tapes. My wife comes downstairs and says, "You need help." And she was right. I went to a sports psychologist. I couldn't take the fact, I was never as good as my best ride. I was always as bad as my worst ride. And I had to find that place, and through talking to somebody that was a trained professional, that, hey, you're never as good as you think you are, and you're certainly never as bad as you think you are, and trying to find that even place. But I needed outside help to get there. Trevor?
You know, I think my wife is probably the biggest supporter of me keeping my mind sane. Just like you said, there's so many ups and downs in this game, and you know, you can be 0 for 100, and then you know, you can go on a crazy streak. But you know, for us, physically and mentally, it's very tough. You know, especially with me, I have to keep my weight down, and not always able to eat what I want to eat, and you know, that kind of leaves me in a hangry mood. And you know, with the mental part too, that just goes right into it. And you know, every day you just have to clear your mind before you go into it, and clear your mind before you leave the track here. And it's very hard to do. And I'm not going to sit here and say every day I do that, because it's, you know, it's hard. We want to win every race we ride. And if you do throw in a bad ride, then you're kind of, like Richie says, you're exposed, you know. So now people saw that you made a mistake, or now they're thinking, oh, hey, you know, maybe he isn't as good as we thought he was, or, you know, it's very tough that way. And you know, with my wife, I mean, she's taught me so much to just calm down. And there's been many
Trevor,
nights.
being hungry affects your mood. It never bothered me. I was always a sunny personality, right?
Yeah, right.
Dylan, how about for you? Where do you go with that? Like when you have a good day, a bad day, how do you recharge?
I think my therapist is my agent, Mike.
You're in trouble. That's my brother. Wow, you're in trouble.
I have great communication with him, and let's just say that if I had a bad day, he would say, "Did you do your best? Did you do the best that you could do? Did you make any mistakes out there?" And I would tell him no, and I said I did the best I could do. Then forget about it, he says. Forget about it. He says, did you make it?
It's more like, forget about it.
He said, are you going home safe to your family and your kids? I said, yeah. Then there's nothing to worry about. You turn the page and you go on, you get to the next day. And as long as you know that, then you can always keep going forward.
Yes.
Katie?
So I turned to, well, I was in a low part at one time in my career, but I turned to motivational speakers on YouTube. They really, you got to find the ones that are very motivated, and what your thoughts are going through, that's where you trigger, and you nail those ones, like depression, or, you know, I can do this, I'm good enough. And it comes down to training your mind. If you can master your mind and how you are thinking, and it's all about, I am good, I know I can do this, and, you know, and staying positive. And another thing is, like, you know, okay, that happened in a race. As long as you learn from it and you don't make the same mistakes, then that's all you can do. You know, you got to learn from your mistakes and move forward. And I always say,
It says it right there on your arm, think positive. So.
yeah, my grandmother, when she passed away, she always said, just think positive. So reminders too, when you write things down and you always see it, it's, what is it? What's the word?
Positive reinforcement, right?
Yeah, and like law of attraction. Like, I believe in all that stuff. Like, if you pursue it and you throw it out there, it's going to happen.
I think a big thing for you mentally that changed you was you kind of looked into meditation.
Yes, I did. I was kind of immature for, like, when I was younger, like, oh, I would laugh. I'm a very happy person. I'm always smiling. Even when I'm sad or I get hurt, I start laughing and crying, and, you know, that's just me. I'm really weird. It's probably because my dad, I'd get hurt and he'd start laughing at me, so I'd start laughing, even though it hurts. But
Well, you know, it's interesting because, Robbie, I'm sure that they've learned a lot from you in that respect. The same question, though. Like, you know,
Yeah.
you had tough days at the track. We both
Oh,
did.
yeah.
so-
And Richie said it perfectly. You go home and you beat yourself up.
Yeah, you do.
And this is horse racing. And you put 10 jockeys, 10 thoroughbreds, 10 trainers, 10 owners in a starting gate. That's a recipe for somebody to get beat.
Yeah.
You know?
So- well,
And
it's only
somebody's
gonna
going
be
to
one
get
winner.
beat.
Yeah.
Almost everybody's going to get beat because you're going to have one winner in the race. So when you go home, I go home and I'm like, wow, I do 300 sit-ups a day. I do 300 push-ups a day. How do they beat me? I got beat a nose. I was like,
And that was me. that
I'm like,
beat him.
oh, that's not how strong you are. It's how smart you are.
That's true.
So be smarter, focus, concentrate before you go out there. You don't be like playing ping pong and pull, just focus, meditate on the race so you don't have to tap on the brakes. Set an extra couple jumps before you turn for home. That hole's gonna open up. Be a little more patient. And I would come home and we had 6 children. I had 2 little girls, my first 2
No
was
TV in the
Kristen and
Davis house.
Jackie. And I was bouncing them on both knees. And the racing was the furthest thing from my mind. And I bounced them, and I told my wife, I don't care if we have a dozen, but we went to 6. I had to pull her up. So, but it was the greatest feeling in the world. And so I did have a set of drums in the basement. I would beat the crap out of them drums. I'd take it out on the drums, and it was good for the timing. And then I would have a hot rod that I'd get my mind off. I would mow my own lawn, and they're like, why are you mowing your own lawn? It was something to get
Therapy.
my mind off of
Therapy, yeah.
the racing, because you just can't focus on it and beat yourself up every day.
Yeah, you live and breathe it.
And yeah.
You do.
Well, it looks like,
was it.
if I'm right here, well, we get one more question in?
Oh, okay.
So, just as a background, Richie and I, careers crossed each other for a short time. Richie was with Steve DeMauro, 10-pound bug.
Oh, wow. Yeah, at barn 45 and 46 at Belmont Park.
There you go. He was a 10-pound bug. I was a 7-pound bug.
Wow.
We used to talk about trying to keep that weight down, you know, and all that other stuff. I eventually jumped ship, went on to another career. But I want to congratulate you first, Richie, for a great career.
Well, thank you. I much appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, Rich.
I went on to become a veterinarian. Disappeared from the racing industry for about 25 years. Came back, looked up
Right, my son.
Joe, and then all of a sudden, you know, looked at your stats.
I had a lot of fun. I loved it. And I lived in that room in between the 2 barns.
Yeah.
Throwing the goggles down and stuff like that.
Well, thank you. You're making me blush.
No, so that's awesome. So congrats on that, and congrats on going to be a future grandfather.
Yeah, I've just got a leg up.
You guys were terrific, outstanding
Thank you,
panel,
thanks.
the best we've had.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have time, or?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you had a...
I'm going to go quickly down the line. Trevor, when you are 20 lengths behind the second to last horse, I watch you, and you are constantly a never give up type of rider. And I watch that all the time. I go, and it's a gap of 5 lengths to so-and-so. I'm like, he's not stopping. He will not give up. And that's you. So congrats.
Thank you.
Dylan, great young career. Fantastic. Glad you came back. If I pick a race right off the top of my head, I'm going to mess up the name. Muta Kamea, right?
Muta Makina.
Muta Makina, Woodbine, right?
Yes, yes.
Kicked ass.
Thank you. Thanks.
Excuse me. Katie, correct. Congrats on motherhood.
Thank you very much.
Congrats on motherhood.
Thank you.
And I agree with you on the front end.
Yes.
You're on the front end.
Yeah,
Yes.
Trevor used to get so mad because I'd open up on the turn. He's like, where's she going? I'm going to catch her. And I'd give him a little breather and kick on again. They'd be so mad.
And Robbie, congrats on a great career.
Thanks.
It was always great, So, good
Thank
deals.
you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
And we're
you.
going to take
All
one
right.
final
and then
question.
One last thing. What's for dinner tonight?
I came back up here. I'm going out to dinner. If I was home on the farm, I'd be cooking, but I'm going out tonight.
You can cook us dinner tonight. Come on.
I could do that.
I'll just concur to what this gentleman said. I mean, I don't need to add. I'll actually get straight to the question. Loved you, Robbie. You were awesome. For your kids, if you had 10 decisions to make, okay, let me rephrase this. So if you're in a race and you're left with a decision, either go on the inside, stay put, go on the outside. At the moment in your careers, out of 10 decisions or 10 races, how many do you feel right now you've made the right decision?
Start with Dylan. I'll put you on the spot first.
He's still riding, so.
I'd say probably 9 out of 10 times. You always second guess yourself when you come back to the jocks room and watch that replay. You think you would have changed something, but after I made that decision, that's the best decision that I could have made possible in that split second, and I never try to second guess it. And if I thought it was a bad mistake, then I just learned from that.
Trev?
Yeah, I think Dylan said it perfectly. It's just an instinct, and if sometimes it might look like the right move for 4 or 5 jumps, and you might not have the horse to get there, or you thought you maybe had a little bit more horse to get there, or somebody kind of dropped in on you or fanned you out, and look, you just have to kind of walk away from it and just say, hey, it's a learning curve, or it just didn't set up the way we thought it would.
I'm going to put a bow on this because we got to wrap up.
Yeah.
I want to thank all of you. Great questions. I watch races every day. That's what I do for a living now. The jockey colony here is the best colony put together in many a year, and they make the right decisions far more than they make any sort of mistakes. But I want to thank you guys. This was fabulous. And now the incomparable Tom Durkin.